Good afternoon, and thank you all for attending today's USA Gymnastics webinar. We're very excited about our topic, and we are talking about the Rhythmic Xcel program. So we have in office today Jamie Vincent. Many of you all know well is our Rhythmic program coordinator, and we'll let her speak with you all a little bit about what this program is about and who's presenting today. Jamie?
Hi guys, thank you all for registering and being here with us. We had about 100 people register for this webinar, so we are just so excited for the growth of this program and really the potential for our country. I'd like to give a big thank you to our new Xcel committee. There's going to be 3 of us giving this presentation today. It'll be Paula Lord, Cindy Bickman, and myself. And the presentation was really a group effort between the entire Xcel committee. So Sophia Minovich, Christina, Michelle, they all pitched in to help with the content. So a big thank you to them for their time and guidance with this new program. To give a little bit of background, for a while we've had the Rhythmic Express program, and that was part of Gymnastics for All. And really, at the start of this season, we've moved that Rhythmic Express program under the Rhythmic program, and we've renamed it Rhythmic Xcel. So when you're looking on the USA Gymnastics website and in the documentation that's up right now, you'll probably still see references to Rhythmic Express. And the committee's working really hard to get all of that updated, but we wanted to go ahead and have this webinar for you to give you the information you need to start Rhythmic Xcel in your club. And we will, continue to let you know when there's new resources, and you'll see all of those remaining references to Rhythmic Express changing to Rhythmic Xcel. As we get started here, I will go ahead and turn it over to Paula, and she is going to start with the mission and the purpose of the Xcel program.
Hello to everyone. I'm going to encourage you as you begin listening to this webinar to join us in wrapping your head around the idea that this program, this system, is designed for you to see what you can do versus what you cannot do. The committee is going to work very hard to make all of our rules and policies decisions based on how there's an option for everyone to participate, and that the system itself is very fundamental and will require very few and very little rule changes as we go through time. So that's our goal, is to provide a structure that can bring this discipline of rhythmic gymnastics to a larger audience. The benefits of the sport are so incredible, and they simply need to be shared with a much larger audience. The fact that rhythmic gymnastics is a relatively low-cost and low-risk activity means that we can get it, and I'm looking at long-term here, we can get this not only into our gym clubs, but also into park districts, into school physical education, into places where the high neurological benefits or the brain health benefits of our discipline can be best utilized and have the most impact toward things which are bigger than just competitive gymnastics. As we go to the next slide, growing the base for the sport only has positives for those of you who are already existing clubs. The basic education on the sport specifics are something that you existing club people and those of you who with a high degree of knowledge around the sport will be able to easily encourage and make available to new people through this program of Xcel. Each event is encouraged to have an educational component. Each event encourages the evaluators to have a high level of knowledge and then to turn around and share it with the competitors or the participants who might be touching the sport for the first time. And again, this lower cost option only helps those of you with large clubs to improve your base, or even those of you with smaller clubs. It's easier and more accessible for athletes and families to participate with this recreational type program. The other piece, which I haven't mentioned on the slides, is that adding all of these people who are able to touch and feel rhythmic gymnastics adds a broader base for your talent selection. It provides people who are going to want to buy tickets and come watch your beautiful events and those amazing athletes, and just a bigger, broader mainstream awareness. Another place that we have for mission and purpose of this Xcel program is providing space for individuals who may have jumped into the competitive program and completely enjoyed it, but have found a need to step back a bit. And rather than completely having to leave the sport because of the time and energy commitment, they can step right into the Xcel program, continue to participate, continue to make improvements, and also then begin to give back to the sport. Different ways that we can reintegrate those past participants, our past Olympians who maybe are out there having real life jobs and who don't have the time to commit to 5 days a week of coaching. They can participate as a competitor, pre, post, or during competitive participation. In other words, at any level of the JO program that you choose to step back, step away, and we do see this as something you can step back and forth through. You can begin coaching or learning how to teach on a more recreational basis. It's a great place to bring those new coaches in. You can serve as an evaluator for the events. You can show up and be a clinician or a choreographer, or you can, like I said, buy tickets and be a fan. There's a lot of benefits for anyone to participate in Xcel Rhythmic. We're going to talk about the gym owners because with healthy clubs and healthy programs, there become more opportunities, which only makes it easier for people to access and grow your programs. Like I said, this is a good opportunity for you to train coaches in coaching rhythmic gymnastics. There are fewer rules and regulations, and there's more of a what can you do attitude. In an Xcel program, the participants are paying a higher per hour rate than your competitive programs who are coming many hours a week, and their per hour rate is rather low. It's also low-cost apparatus, so clubs that don't have the ability to buy a new set of bars or a new balance beam, perhaps this is a place where they could add programming by simply buying a lot of ribbons, a lot of hoops, that type of thing. It's also attractive to your more dance-oriented clientele, and I'm speaking this toward the artistic clubs, really, those clubs that are looking for additional programming, additional opportunities, additional revenue streams. The more dance-oriented clientele, the ones who aren't such fans of climbing ropes and doing scary flips, this is a great place to encourage them to join. It's also portable apparatus, so the fact that we can pick up our equipment and go out to places for outreach opportunities is very, very important. So those are, again, some of the benefits of participation in the Xcel program. I believe we have getting started with actually how you put together the routines and the score sheets.
So this is Cindy, and I will jump in on that. As Paula has said many times, we are focusing on what the gymnast can do. So do you coach a Rhythmic Xcel gymnast the same way that you coach an Olympic competitor? Yes, you do. You still have to hold true to the technique for the body skills and the technique for the apparatus handling. So it's not a dubbed-down rhythmic gymnastics. However, we want to focus on what the athletes can do. So when you're selecting the skills, if the athlete is much better at, say, jumps and leaps than the balances and the flexibility moves, then you would choose those skills to go into the routine. In the Rhythmic Xcel program, the first thing you need to know is that we do not have age groups. So any age gymnast can compete at any level. And this is really, really good when you have teenagers who come into your gym and maybe they come from a dance background. They want to compete. They want to compete in rhythmic gymnastics. They love the apparatus. Well, it's fine for them to compete at level A and level B until their skills get to a higher level. So in the program, we do not rank the gymnasts. We do not flash the scores. So it's not inappropriate for a 15-year-old and an 8-year-old both to be participating in level A if that is their skill set. We have 4 levels, A, B, C, and D. So how do you decide what level you put your gymnast in? I think as you go through the program, you will figure that out because you can kind of look at a gymnast and say, oh, she's a level A, she's a level B. But basically, level A would be basic skills, and these would be the JO skills and FIG 0.1 skills. And then as you move up the levels, then the skill level for the body skills becomes increasingly more difficult, and the integration of the apparatus handling with the body skills should also become more complex. Now, one question that may come up is if you have a level A gymnast, it says on the score sheet that you see here, the majority JO and FIG 0.1 skills. Can you do a 0.2 skill? Yes, absolutely. You can have the gymnast do that skill. Do they get extra credit? No, except if they do it with great execution and apparatus handling. Maybe in the general impression, the evaluator would take that into consideration. Do they still get credit for the skill if it's a higher level skill than what is specified on the score sheet for their level? Absolutely. If you take a level A and put a higher level skill in there, you don't have to list it as one of your body skills. If you have 6 skills that you list and you have a level A performing a higher level skill, but they don't quite do it to good execution and amplitude yet, but you want them to be working that skill in order to prepare for higher level, then that's fine. Put it in the routine, but don't list it as one of your 6 skills. As I said before, when you list those 6 skills, you choose the 6 skills that the gymnast can do the best, with the best execution, amplitude, and apparatus handling. So it is, of course, good choreography to have jumps and leaps, to have pivots, and to have balance. Is there a specific requirement saying how many of each? No. Is there a deduction for missing one of these categories? No. However, when you get to the general impression and variety, then that's where that will be taken into consideration. So if you have this score sheet right here, this is what you need in order to do your choreography for the routine. So you can see the first thing you need is 6 body skills. Yes, you need a handling with each of these 6 body skills. There are not specific handling requirements. Yes, you should include a variety of handling, the fundamental groups of handling, but there's not a specific requirement. Then the evaluator sees that the body skill with the apparatus handling has a value of 1.0. The only way that you can get no credit at all and get a 0 is if the gymnast totally and completely leaves that out or does it so that you absolutely, the evaluator, cannot any way, shape, or means identify that skill. So what the evaluator will do will take into consideration the execution and amplitude of the body skill, also the execution of the apparatus handling, and then the integration of the two. And they will look at this skill and say, this was practically perfect. And yes, you can give a 1.0 for a skill. You do not have to have a deduction, and we don't really think in terms of deductions, but you can give a gymnast a 1.0 if the skill is done really, really well, or pretty close to perfect, 0.9. If the skill is kind of done halfway, the execution and amplitude are okay, the handling's okay, then they might get 0.5. So this is a judgment call by the evaluator. This is also where you would take into consideration drops of the apparatus, but is there a specific deduction for the drop? Say if somebody starts with a 1.0 and they have a drop, do you deduct 0.2 and get a 0.8? No, that's not specified. So you have to think more in terms of generalities here. Is there a specific deduction for, say, not hitting the perfect amplitude, not hitting a split when a split is required in the FIG or the JO skill requirements? No, there's not a specific deduction, but the evaluator takes that into consideration when deciding how many points to award for each of the skills. The evaluator can, if there's time, write down faults, like not pointed toes or a drop, not enough split. Sometimes when you're sitting in the chair for the evaluator, there's not time to write all these faults, but it's helpful to the coaches who do get the score sheets back at the end of the competition. It's helpful for them to see what the evaluator was seeing. And you notice we call it evaluator and not judge. Judge seems to think more judgmental and think in terms of deductions. Evaluation is evaluating how well the gymnast can perform that skill. So when you look at this here, you decide what level for your gymnast to compete, and this is just a generality. If they're doing basic skills, they can start at level A. If like level C and level D will be a new level, and so all of the score sheets are not finished for level D yet, but by the time you get to level D, it should be pretty intricate handling and pretty good body skills in as far as the skill level that they perform and the way that they execute these skills. Changing levels. Yes, the athletes can change levels during a competitive season. If you choose a level and then you go to a competition and went, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have started this gymnast at level A, she can really compete level B because her skills look that good. Then go ahead and move during the competitive year. That is no problem. There are no requirements for mobility between the levels. So hopefully that has answered your questions for the top half of the score sheet. And now we'll go to the next score sheet, the bottom half, and let Paula talk about that.
Thank you, Cindy. What you'll notice is the top half of the sheet, which Cindy just went over, has 6 points available. A perfect top half score would be 6 points. The bottom half of the composition evaluation process, there are 4 points available. And this is the piece where we embrace the fact that we are subjectively evaluating routines and performances. So each of the categories here on the bottom half of the score sheet has 1 point available. And I'd like to kind of just talk through each one of them because this is really where our evaluation, we really need to open our mind around what we're looking at and how we're going to do these evaluations. Very often when hosting a competition or when looking at a competition, I like to have one person looking at the top half of the sheet and one person looking at the bottom half of the sheet because it does require a little bit of a different eye. The top half is a little more focused. The bottom half is a little more sit back and look at the big picture. So the first category being general body execution. And under general body execution, we're talking about how is the athlete's posture? Are they working equally with both sides of their body? Do they have a balance naturally to their body movement? How is the use of arms, head? How is the use of the knees and the feet? And these are the general categories. An athlete may come and look absolutely beautiful up top, but just doesn't know what to do with their knees and their toes. So we have to look at that one point that we have available to award them and decide. Again, as a judge here, I will look at all of my level B athletes and possibly do a comparison just so that I'm not taking more away or holding more back because I prefer to see the equal sides and not look at the knees and feet. In other words, we have to compare apples and oranges and come up with a point system which makes sense. So posture equal sides, this is your dance. This is how the athlete themselves is moving and prepared for the actual technique of rhythmic gymnastics with their body. The second category, apparatus handling, I think will be the most difficult for those of us who have not been involved in this Xcel program to wrap our head around. When evaluating the apparatus handling here on the bottom half, we're looking at everything that is done with the apparatus throughout the routine, not just simply those skills which are named on the top half of the sheet. And looking at this apparatus handling, we want to somehow make sure that all of the fundamental groups that are associated with one of the pieces of apparatus are present. In other words, if I do a rope routine and there's absolutely no jumping in it, that's a problem, and I wouldn't be able to award my full point here. Not only should all the groups be represented, but the proper technique for that apparatus must be present. In other words, bend the elbows with the ball. I can't award all of my points. When I look at proper technique, I also look at athletes who are really, really good with their spirals, but are lacking in good technique for their large circles or for their large apparatus or even for their throw. Perhaps the toss and catch technique doesn't have the full extension of the arm, the full looking at where the equipment is going, etc. So again, I'm looking at all of the proper technique for the whole routine and recognizing that some pieces might be there, some might not, and then it's my subjective call, how many points do I get to give them? When you look at variety and risk, we understand that at the beginning levels A and B will have much less ability to show us variety and risk. So any little bit of that needs to be rewarded. As we move up the levels to levels C and D, I want to see that. I want to see that variety and that risk and that originality showing up through the apparatus handling. If I see only basic handling in a level C athlete, I'm not going to award the entire point. The next category, choreography. Of course, all of us who are choreographers believe that every routine we put out there should be a 1.0. And actually, if we pay attention to the use of levels, using the whole floor, making sure the apparatus is never static and is integrated into the movement, into the dance, then this is a great place where we can give full credit. We can give that full 1.0. Under overall impression, this is the fun part. This is where we really get to encourage the athletes to learn how to be a performer, to learn how to show musicality with their body. This is where the body and the facial expression can totally come into play, and we can encourage them to choose music which suits them, which is fun for them. Mastery is something that we'll see. Of course, we would love to see athletes mastering each level before they were to move on. And getting a full credit here under overall impression is very, very challenging. As evaluators, we need to be careful not to give full credit if we didn't see mastery, if we didn't see that simple ease of stepping on the floor and being fully in charge of what was going on in that routine. And the piece of crowd appeal. There's nothing better than having an athlete finish a routine and the entire crowd burst into cheers because that kid was just having so much fun and expressing it and giving us something special. And again, as an evaluator, let's make sure we don't give full credit when that piece is missing, because then we have nothing to award to that special performance that shows up and does have the full package. So when we add our top 6 points to these bottom 4 points, we have a final score of 10. And we would love to see that perfect 10 come back. And when we show it, why don't we put it up and show it on Facebook or wherever we need to share it, bringing back the perfect 10. So I hope that helps you with how the Xcel program is unique and embraces that subjective quality in the evaluation. So we're going to turn this over to Cindy to talk about starting a new rhythmic program with Xcel as part of it.
Okay. Cindy is back here. When we talk about starting a new rhythmic program with Xcel, it's the same as starting a rhythmic program. It's just a different avenue for the gymnast to go. So this is in the Starting a Rhythmic Program brochure, and Jamie will be creating a Starting a New Rhythmic Program with Xcel brochure, which will have all this information on it. But, of course, you find an instructor for the class, you find your students, ways to find the students are holding an open house, doing a clinic, doing a demonstration, and one important piece is if you have an artistic gym, integrate rhythmic gymnastics into your existing classes. So if they are doing vault and bars and beam and have your fourth rotation be rhythmic, because a lot of times you will find the child that struggles on the bars has a fear factor on beam, but oh my gosh, do they love to dance and do they love to play with the equipment? That's the child that you want to steal for your rhythmic program, and Xcel is a great place to start. And here is just a picture of an open house where students are coming to be introduced to rhythmic gymnastics and Xcel. So why did you add Rhythmic Xcel to your program? Every parent wants their child to be a part of a team and to compete and to have opportunities, if the child wants, to go above and beyond that 1 hour, once a week class. And Rhythmic Xcel is the place that the gymnast can do this, and they can do it safely. Why did the kids decide to do Rhythmic Xcel? Because they love rhythmic gymnastics. It's pretty, it's fun, the routines are fun, the music is fun, and they want to do more than just come to classes. And this is a safe way and a fun way for gymnasts to be able to be a part of a team and to be able to compete. Next slide. So if you already have an established rhythmic club or if you have an artistic club, then how do you promote the Xcel program in your club? I can't emphasize enough that Xcel is like the second track. So you don't want to ever approach a parent and say, well, your child is really not good enough to compete in the JO program, but maybe they'll want to try Xcel. Please, 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 I encourage you not to view the program like that and not to approach parents like that. So get the word out there that this is an opportunity for the children. Target your new students, target your recreational classes. Let them know that this is a recreational program with a competitive component to it. And everything that you explain to any student starting rhythmic gymnastics applies to the Xcel program as it does to any recreational class for once a week or the JO or the elite program. Let's go to the next slide. So we'll just let you kind of read through this at yourself and not really have to explain that actions that you can take in order to promote the program and get it going in your gym. So we'll just be quiet for just a minute and let you read this. And go to number 5. That's very, very important. You do need to have a good and a qualified coach to coach your Xcel program. It needs to be a coach who knows body skills, who knows apparatus technique. Again, you might want to have a choreographer come in and do your choreography. If you have an inexperienced coach, this is a great place to gain experience in coaching the choreography and learning how to perfect a routine. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so
if I may jump in for a moment, I would like to make the point that in this program, because there's not as much time spent in the gym, we do find that athletes actually like to play around at home and like to do their own homework somewhat. The score sheets being something that is given back to the coach is often then given directly to the athlete, where the athlete then can look and say, oh my gosh, I got only 5 on my turn, but I got 9/10 out of my leap. And that actually is a great way to also continue to educate these athletes. The athletes going through this program can understand, wow, if I could improve my turn up to an 8 or a 9, then my overall score gets higher. So the athlete feedback from the score sheets is really cool and falls into this recreational piece. It's almost a home study and encourages improvement from within versus from the day-to-day.
And we'd like to add in here one thing that we may not have said is that each athlete gets an award for every performance when they go to a competition, and it's an achievement award based on the score that they get. So nobody goes home empty-handed, and there may be quite a few gold medal winners, quite a few silver medal winners, and quite a few bronze medal winners. And so everybody gets an award for everything, and I think this is a very positive experience and a positive motivator. So let's go to the next. Okay, how do you put Xcel into a competition? There are many, many ways to do this. The first one we'll talk about is hosting a standalone Rhythmic Xcel competition, and this is a great thing to do. You can read all of the specifics here. But the benefit of doing a standalone competition is that at the end of the competition, you can have a gym fest where each team comes with a performance routine and does that. Then you can have an educational clinic, and in a meet where you're combining lots of different levels and JO and Xcel, there may not be time for this. So this is one plus for hosting a Rhythmic Xcel competition. The logistics of hosting the meet are hiring evaluators that understand the philosophy of Rhythmic Xcel. You want to make sure in Rhythmic Xcel, we do a lot of times encourage teams to do groups so that you work that into your schedule. And the coaches will need to fill out the paperwork and the forms and turn those in ahead of time. And then when you decide about awards, there are several different ways to present awards. One way would be to say, for level A ball, here are our gold medal winners. And you call up everyone who won a gold. And these are our silver winners. And you call up everyone who won silver. These are our bronze medal winners, and they all come up, and then you have everyone who competed level A ball standing there on the awards podium. Another way is to call each child up individually, and you could say Paula won a gold for her ball routine, and a silver for hoop, and a gold for ribbon. And while we're speaking about this, we need to mention that the athletes compete 3 routines, and you have a choice of any of the apparatus and individual floor exercise. It's not specific to what level they compete. It is up to the coach and the gymnast to determine what events they want to do. 3 out of all of the apparatus and floor. Let's go to the next slide. And there may be a question, how do you combine Xcel with a JO competition? Again, there are many ways to do this. I've heard of one that has the Xcel competition during the lunch break, while the JO judges and the gymnasts and the coaches might take a little break, and they bring in different evaluators and run the Xcel competition then. But you can also integrate Xcel into the JO competition. You can have the same judges and evaluators judge both. You can combine any way that fits logistically into your meet. You can combine a JO level with an Xcel level. So it doesn't really matter with that. And when you do the rotation sheets, you might have all the Xcel competitors begin with ball with this panel of judges, and then the JO competitors begin with floor with another panel of judges. So you would work the Xcel competitors into the rotation sheet just like you would any other JO competitor or any competitor. One thing that you need to know is that Xcel scores must not be flashed during the competition. Awards are by achievement, and it's always a great surprise at the end who wins what for that event. But when you combine a JO and an Xcel competition, then you should do the awards separately, and it may require a little explanation to the audience or to the parents about exactly why the Xcel or how the Xcel awards differ from being placed in the JO. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay, so this is Jamie, and thank you guys for your patience with our technical difficulty there. We actually lost completely our internet connection in the office, but Cindy and Paula were amazing, and they just kept going. So I'd like to cover real quick the Xcel membership requirements. So for athletes, the requirement is going to be that they have a USA Gymnastics introductory membership. So that is what they would need for the sanctioned event participation. And this introductory membership is actually about half of the cost of the normal athlete membership. So it makes it a lot more affordable since these athletes are participating on more of a recreational level. And for the coaches and evaluators to participate in the sanctioned event, the requirement for them would be that they have a professional membership, or if they're younger, the junior professional membership. And a big benefit now to having Rhythmic Xcel under the Rhythmic program as opposed to GFA is that now the professional members are only required to have that one Rhythmic professional membership, and it also goes along with the sanctioning requirements. In past years, it was required to have two totally different sanctions if you wanted to have a Rhythmic Express competition and a Rhythmic Junior Olympic competition. And now that Xcel is under the Rhythmic program, you can get just one sanction, and it will cover both the Xcel portion of your competition and the Junior Olympic portion of your competition. So thank you guys. I hope this has answered a lot of your questions, but if you have any remaining questions, we'd love to answer some of those for you now. You can go ahead and type them into the chat box. And also we have an email address up on the screen. If there's anything that you think of later that you'd like to ask or anything that we don't get to here, you can email any questions to rhythmicxcel@gmail.com, and one of the committee members will be able to answer your question. So now we're going to go ahead and read some of the questions that have come in already, and we'll let either Paula or Cindy or myself help to answer those for you.
Thanks, Jamie, and thanks, everyone. So our first question is regarding leotards. So will the gymnasts need to have leotards for each routine, or will one leotard for each of the routines suffice?
I can answer that. This is Paula. And the athletes can wear one leotard for the entire competition. We would like for them to follow the style because we do want to look like true rhythmic gymnasts. You may also do it a little more costumey, but understanding that because we have a subjective type of evaluation system, if the judge doesn't like your costume, you might not get full credit.
All right. And next, about how long would Xcel students need to practice per week?
This is Cindy. I will give you from practical experience in my gym. My students come twice a week, and they take a ballet class, and then they work out about a total of 3 hours on Rhythmic, and they do compete individual, and they also compete group. And then, of course, when you're getting ready for a big competition or something, then we may add in a weekend time. But we also have some younger students who come once a week for a 30-minute ballet class and a 1-hour class, and they have been quite successful in competing level A this year.
And this is Paula. I have a very similar setup. So it is how long to practice per week? Not less than an hour and a half. It will be very difficult to get enough technique in. However, we do want to, again, bring rhythmic gymnastics to more people. And if you think about the format for soccer, for example, if I want to play soccer, I can sign up and play the very next week. So this is something that we do want to understand, that the level A level is set up so that you may begin participating in Xcel. Maybe you're only doing one routine, but it is set up so that you can access it and begin the competition or evaluation program sooner than later.
All right, perfect. And our next question, who can be an evaluator or judge for this program? So I think we kind of addressed that with the slide that Jamie went over as far as what USA Gymnastics membership type you would need to be an evaluator. So just as a refresher on that portion, and then Paula, Jamie, or Cindy, you can jump in with some additional information for this answer. But you can apply for the professional membership online for $89. You have to have a current safety risk management certification and background check in order to be an evaluator or a judge for this program. And for those that are 16 or 17 years old, they have the junior professional membership. And with that membership, it's the same fee of $89, and the additional requirement is the safety risk management course. So is the Xcel program judged by junior Olympic judges?
Yes and no. That is perfectly appropriate, but you can also pull in dance teachers. You can pull in former rhythmic gymnastics competitors and rhythmic coaches. They can also be very, very good evaluators.
And our next question, we do have level 4, 5, and 6 athletes who are having a hard time with the current requirements for their levels. Would the Xcel program in the Junior Olympic program, would the Xcel program be a good alternative for these athletes who have a strong base for skills and handling but are not able to place for some of the USA Gymnastics competitions?
Can we say in all capital letters, yes? Because I think what these athletes will find in the Xcel program is they can go to a competition, number one, have fun, number two, come away from the competition with their self-esteem intact, because they work really, really hard and they achieve things at their level. And in the Xcel program, their achievements are rewarded. And then it would be up to the coach to figure out where they place. But yes, yes, yes.
And I would like to add to that, one thing you might think of is not all athletes are going to take giant leaps. There are different speeds at which you can progress. And every athlete, every child is going to have their own speed that is their natural progression rate. And what can happen through the Xcel program is, instead of the stair steps being 24 inches high to get to the next piece, then we offer that broken down into 6, 7, or 8 steps. So you're only having to move forward 4 inches at a time in order to see your own progress, and developing athletes that confidence and that way of looking and understanding that, yes, they are putting in the work, they are progressing. The Xcel program offers an evaluation system where that progress is visible.
Wonderful. And we have a question about floor routines. Can gymnasts participating in the Rhythmic Xcel program also perform floor routines?
Absolutely, and that is the same way along. We are also will be discussing and making more formal that acrobatic skills could be allowed. That's something that is still up for discussion in the committee, but it is very important there are many clubs out there with artistic programs that don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time on bars and beams, but the kids do enjoy the tumbling aspect. So there will be an opportunity to include those as skills in the Floor X routines. That would be one of the 3 chosen individual apparatus maximum that the athlete could do. So they might do floor, rope, and ribbon.
And next, do we have a typical charge or fee for meet registration for an Xcel gymnast?
Is that an entry fee competition? Is that what we're asking?
Yes.
Yes, we do. And right now, I believe it is set at $20 per routine. And
yes,
that will be in the rules. And then if they participate in a group floor exercise, there's another charge which is less, and if they participate in a group apparatus routine, there is a charge for being in the group routines. And we can bring up here right now, too, that a group routine can be a duet, a trio, or a group, and the group floor can be a duet, a trio, or we are encouraging the whole team with a maximum of around 12 athletes to be on the floor together and compete their group floor exercise. And this will all be found in the rules that are posted.
And I can clarify just a little bit. So each athlete is limited to participating in 5 total routines. That means they could choose to do the maximum 3 individual routines and 2 group routines. So the maximum that any athlete can do in one competition would be 5 routines, 3 of those being individual, 2 group. You can also do any combination thereof.
Wonderful. And we'll actually go ahead and wrap up the question portion here. Again, we do have the contact email there to contact the Rhythmic Xcel task force and with your additional questions. And there's also a survey at the end of today's webinar where you can type your additional questions. Cindy, Paula, and Jamie, we want to thank you for today's webinar. And Jamie had a few words for you.
I'd just like to say thank you to everyone else, also especially to Cindy and Paula. And most of you probably got an email recently about the new Rhythmic resources page that we have on the USA Gymnastics website. And I just want to remind everyone that that will be a great spot to look as we have additional resources. You can just go to the Rhythmic page, and then under Education, you will see that Rhythmic resources page for additional resources as they are made available.
Thank you all again for attending today's USA Gymnastics webinar. USA Gymnastics, begin here, go anywhere.